But now we're going to move to the question that focuses specifically on language and grammar, and that is question 5. They say that you should read text F, but I tend to read the text only when I have to. I go straight to the questions. It says refer to the title. Okay, I will go back and read the title. My question word is replace. I've got to replace spin with a formal English word. So I need to find out, well, what does spin mean here? So we have how Africa is giving fast food a new spin. So this is slang. It's a very colloquial, slangy use of the word. And what does it mean? It means a viewpoint, a bias, a slant. It's giving it a new slant. So now you've got to find a more formal word. So Africa is giving fast food a new meaning, a new outlook, something like that. So start with the meaning and then find a more formal word. You can be asked for homophones and homonyms. So homophone, it's going to sound the same, and we get to Q. Right, now, without even looking at it, and I know that's really naughty of me, but the examiners often think that double dashes and brackets are interchangeable with commas. And I'm assuming that the commas in lines 3 and 4 are double commas separating something. So I'm going to guess brackets and dashes. And I'm now going to go back and look. What is it? I'm going to look at lines 3 and 4 just to make sure. So what do we have? We have, in 2004, he opened Kilimanjaro, a chain of fast food restaurants. Yep, it is a phrase. The grammatical term is in apposition. So a phrase in apposition is separated by commas. And the examiners feel that commas, brackets, and dashes are the same. They're not actually, but I'm not going to fight them about this. Now, correct the Concord error in paragraph 2. Absolutely, I need to revise Concord. Let me just get rid of this so I have some more space to write. Okay, so when you are revising Concord for this question, the two obvious concords are subject verb concord. So we say I am, not I is, but we say he is, not I am. We say we are, not we is, that kind of thing. And then you can also ask about pronouns and adjectives. So if I say something like, if one is late for class, you should apologize to the teacher. That's a concord problem. If you use one, you must go on using one. If you use you must go on using you. So when you are revising Concord, you then go back and see what is it in paragraph 2. Kenya and Nigeria offers. There it is. Kenya and Nigeria, if we replace this with a pronoun, it would be they. Not they offers, but they offer. We've got to rewrite the above sentence in the passive voice. So as long as we have practiced and done plenty of examples, we should be able to manage this quite easily. Start by finding the finite verb. Have tailored. It really is important that you get both parts of your finite verb. It's have and tailored. Now you find your subject. To find the subject of a finite verb, ask who or what before the verb. Who or what have tailored? Answer: some international chains. So this becomes the subject, or this is the subject. Now we need to find an object, because if we are going to make a sentence passive, we have to have an object. So, how do I find the object of a finite verb? I ask who or what after the verb. Some international chains have tailored who or what. And I get the answer, their products. That's my object. How do I make an active sentence passive? How do I know it's active? If the subject does the verb or is the verb, the sentence is said to be in the active voice. So the international chains, have they done the tailoring? Yes, that's active. So to make it passive, I need to have something done to the subject. So I take the object and I make it the new subject. Their products. I take the verb and I make it passive. I've got to keep the same tense. Have been tailored. I've got to keep the same tense but have it passive. Then I have to add in by, and I take the subject and I make it the new agent. By some international chains. What have I left out? Two local tastes. I put that in wherever I think it fits. So, their products have been tailored to local tastes by some international chains. It's well worth doing it, even though it's just for 1 mark. It really is the right idea to practice your active and passive voice so that you can do that comfortably and quickly. Now we have to provide an antonym for the word profound in the context of line 13. So provide, what do I have to provide? An antonym, but I've got to go to line 13. So up to line 13 I go. Where is the word profound? There it is. Let's have a look at the context. Apart from their profound knowledge of local homegrown tastes. What does that mean? That means a deep knowledge, a thorough knowledge. So opposite of deep, shallow, like the deep end of a swimming pool or the shallow end of a swimming pool, or superficial, like some students' knowledge of their English grammar. So get the meaning first and then check what is it that I have to do. They wanted an antonym, opposite. Good, got it. Right, refer to paragraph 3, remove the redundancy. Okay, let me go to paragraph 3. Oh, wait a minute. Do we know what redundancy means? It means that it is unnecessary repetition. If you say things like, the army retreated back to camp, you can't retreat forward or sideways. So it's redundant, it's unnecessary. You retreat back. Even repeat that again is unnecessary, because repeat that means say it again. So that's redundancy. Now we know what we're looking for. Now we've got to go to paragraph 3. Some industrial chains have tailored their products to local tastes. Popular local ingredients have been added. In Nigeria, Domino's sells pizza topped with jollof rice, West African staple. KFC in Kenya offers a product based on ugali, popular maize-based product. apart from their profound knowledge of local homegrown tastes. Hang on. Apart from their profound knowledge of local homegrown tastes. There it is. Local means homegrown. So you take out one or the other. You either write local tastes or you write homegrown tastes, but you don't write both. Correct the malapropism. Okay. Malapropism. What is it? So it's useful here to remember that there was, a long time ago, a play. And in the play, there was a woman called Mrs. Malaprop. And she wasn't of high society, but she was always trying to impress people about how marvelous she was and how better educated and more superior she actually was. And so she would try to use a word that she thought was an impressive word, but very often she got the word wrong. So she'd say something and she'd get a word that was similar sounding, but the wrong word for the context. So in trying to show that she's superior and she's actually better educated and she's, somebody to be respected, she would actually make herself look like a complete idiot. So when you're looking for a malapropism, because it's named after her, you're looking for a word that sounds kind of right, but there's something wrong with it. It's the wrong word, but it sounds quite similar. Okay, so, hang on a second. We're looking at paragraph 3. Right. Well, did we notice it before? No, but we're going to read it again. Some international chains have tailored their products to local tastes. Popular local ingredients have been added. Apart from their profound knowledge of local homegrown tastes, their chains are also adept at managing. There it is. If you adapt, you change. But their chains are something at managing a business in challenging circumstances, which means that they are good at it. Look at it. In Nigeria, they do this. In Kenya, they're doing that. Why? They have a profound knowledge of local food, but they're also flippin' good at managing a business. So it's not adapt, it is adept. That's the word. Right. And then we come to direct and reported speech. 5.8 tells us to rewrite the sentence in direct speech. So quite interesting that most candidates expect direct speech into indirect speech. And that is what they practice and that is what they study. But notice you can be asked from indirect to direct speech. So you need to practice both. So he added that. So we're going to start with he added. We're going to keep that introductory verb. The punctuation mark after the introductory verb is a comma. Then you open your inverted commas. What did he say? Ultimately, it was a gamble on the future. So he's going to begin with the word ultimately. So we need to make sure that we have punctuated that with a capital letter. It was a gamble on the future. So if the reported speech is in the past tense, there's our finite verb, and it's in the past tense. Then our direct speech is going to be in the present tense. It is a gamble on the future. Then the full stop, and then close the inverted comma. Do not put like this above each other and that above each other, because all the marker is going to do is to ring it, because it is absolutely unclear whether the comma is inside the inverted comma or outside, whether the full stop is inside the inverted comma or outside. You have to make it clear. So the comma goes there, then you open. The full stop goes there, and then you close. So I really want to go over direct to indirect speech, because the only way that you are going to get it right, going the other way, is if you've gone this way a number of times. Okay, so what is our rule? You have to look at the introductory verb. And in tests and exams, they give it to you in the past tense. Because if the introductory verb is in the present tense, you hardly make any changes at all. But if the introductory verb is in the past tense, then you are going to make changes. So they give it to you in the past tense. So it will be something like, he said, he asked, she added, she exclaimed. It'll be an introductory verb in the past tense. So then what happens? So your rules start to operate. So if the direct speech is in the present tense, the rule is that in the reported speech, in the indirect speech, you go to the past tense. Now, most learners can get that right. So she exclaimed, I am happy. So they know to take out the inverted commas, and they know that the pronouns change. So first person pronouns are going to change to third person. So I will go to she. Find your finite verb. Your finite verb is am. What tense are we in? Present tense, change it to past. She was happy. And then they know that there's no such thing as an exclamation in reported speech, and it becomes a full stop. So that's not the problem. The problem is that so many learners do not know what to do when the direct speech is in the past tense. So she exclaimed, I was happy. And you need to recognize that as the finite verb in the past tense. So what happens? What is the rule? And this is what learners are not learning. Your rule is the past tense goes to the past perfect tense. How do I recognize the past perfect tense? It has had plus the verb in the past participle. So, coming back to Our Lady, she exclaimed that she had, and now, been happy. So your past perfect is had been. What if the direct speech is in the past perfect? Well, then it just stays past perfect, because English doesn't have a further tense into the past. So present goes to past. Past goes to past perfect. And then there are modal verbs, and modal verbs will go to a form of the past. So if you say, I can be happy, I could be happy. I may be happy, I might be happy. I will be happy, I would be happy. But then we come to the problem of shall. Be awfully, awfully careful with shall. A lot of people don't use shall anymore. It's kind of going out. The old rule was that you said, I shall and we shall, and you and he and she and it and they will. That was the old rule. So if people are using I will, it's not a problem. So if you say, I will be happy in my direct speech, she said that she would be happy, no problem. But what happens if you go, I shall be happy? So many teachers make that I should be happy. No, 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 no. Should is completely different. This is just the future tense. I will be happy. I shall be happy. That's the future tense. So the minute you go to she, it goes to would, because it's now third person. The only reason you're using shall is because you're following the old rule of the future tense is I shall. But now you are going to that past form of the future tense, which is not should, it's would. So just be careful of that one. What this exam hasn't tested, they tested just tenses, but there are also issues with time and space or place. So if you say, I am happy today, it becomes, she said that she was happy that day. I shall be happy tomorrow. She said that she would be happy the following day or the day after. She said, I was happy yesterday. She said that she had been happy the day before or the previous day. I want my lunch now. She said that she wanted her lunch then. And the same thing goes for the next day, the following day, the day after. Just make sure that you are looking at any, like if I say next week, you say the following week. The next day, the day after. You change that. Then what about space? Here becomes there. And this becomes that. And these becomes those. Oh, and I forgot about ago. 10 days ago, 10 days before. But I've noticed very few people change that. I've noticed that especially in novels. Very few people say 10 days before. They say, she said that she saw him 10 days ago. So you can revise your direct and reported speech. If you look at the number of marks, you might feel it's just 2 marks, and your active and passive voice, you feel was just 1 mark. Where is it? There. But I really think it's worthwhile. There are very few exams that don't have either direct and reported speech or active and passive or both of them. And you're trying to get as many marks out of 10 as you can. And really, it is fatal if you get 1 or 2 out of 10 on this question, because then your whole paper is now kind of out of 60 instead of out of 70, and you're going to lose that distinction or lose that really good mark. So I would like just to go over active and passive voice also. So if I can just say again, the active voice is when the subject does the verb or the subject is the verb. So if you say, she is happy, the finite verb is. Who is? She is. How do I find the subject of a finite verb? I ask who or what. Where do I ask it? Before the verb. That gives me the subject. So she is being happy. She's being the verb. So it's active. She eats the pizza. She's doing the eating. It is active. But what then is the passive voice? The passive voice is when something happens to the subject. Something is done to the subject. So it still depends on the subject. If the subject is doing the verb, it's active. If something is happening to the subject, it's passive. If I said, the table has been painted, what's the finite verb? Has been painted. This is my finite verb. What tense are we in? The present perfect. Is it the present perfect active? No, it's the present perfect passive. So remember, there's a present perfect active, has painted, and there's a present perfect passive, has been painted. So who or what has been painted? Answer, the table. The table is the subject. Is the table doing the painting? No, something is happening to the table. Therefore, it is passive. So you need to understand the difference between active and passive. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is they usually ask you to change active to passive. So in order to do this, you have to have a subject, a finite verb, and you have to have an object. Because you take the object and you make it the new subject. You take the finite verb, which is in the active form, and you change it into the passive, but you've got to keep the same tense. Don't change the tense and don't change the form. I'm going to come back to that. Then you have to add in by. And you take the subject and you make it the new agent. By somebody is the new agent. I said I wanted to come back to the form of the verb. So if you have the boy ate an apple. An apple was eaten by the boy. This is past tense active, that's past tense passive. What if you have the boy was eating an apple? This is your past continuous, or the CAPS documents call it the past progressive. So an apple was, keep the same tense. Now I've got to keep the continuous. I put the ing on being eaten. So do not change the form. A lot of my students, the boy ate an apple, will write the apple was being eaten. This is a simple tense. You cannot change a simple tense to a continuous tense. You must keep simple tenses as simple tenses and continuous tenses as continuous tenses. You keep the ing, but the ing shifts. Was being eaten by the boy. Right, so let's just do an example. If I say something like, the engineer planned a massive bridge over the river next to the village. No matter how long your sentence is, you start with find the finite verb. How do I find my finite verb? Look for the tense. What tense are we in? Planned, past tense. And it's a simple past tense. Now you find the subject. To find the subject of a finite verb, ask who or what before the verb. Who or what planned? To find the object of a finite verb, ask who or what after the verb. The engineer planned who or what. In order to make the sentence passive, take the object and make it the new subject. Take the finite verb, keep the same tense, make it passive. Add in the word by. Take the subject and make it the new agent. So what do we get? A massive bridge was planned by the engineer. What have I got left? Over the river next to the village. I don't care where you put it. A massive bridge over the river next to the village was planned by the engineer. Can we put it anywhere else? A massive bridge was planned over the river next to the village by the engineer. Yeah, we can shift it. I don't mind where it goes. The essence of it is your subject, your finite verb, and your object. And don't change the tense. Just change the verb into the passive. And that takes us to the end of paper 1.